Hey, Club. Welcome to the 8th class. So we're about midway through Big Data Analytics. You had your midterm, which I assume everybody had a nice surprise, a pleasant surprise, because I made it deliberately quite simple and quite easy. The reason being this was the first time that we were trying the Exam Plus online examination. So I didn't want to really put so much weight in it. So as you can see, the question that you had were relatively simplistic, sort of like introductory kind of questions. So that I assume was a nice surprise for everyone. Okay, but it shouldn't be like that. Yeah, once I'm happy with the exam format and all that, then we can actually test your knowledge. Okay, so the final shouldn't be that easy. Okay, very good. Now we kind of like halfway, you understand sort of like what. Well, first of all, you understand what big data is. You understand what we want to do with data, whether big or small. Okay, we understand that the aspect of big data that has to do with speed and storage size is not something we can really emulate within the class structure, but certainly the variety of data set. Having said that, so far most of the data we have been working with comes in numerical form, and in fact, I would imagine that everything follows the Pareto rule. 80%, 80-20. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So they're like 80% of the application is handled by 20% of the technique. Okay, so let's say even if the big data, the variety, there's like 100 different, say 10 types of data, only 2 types of data is going to cover like 80% of the application. So you're going to deal with those 2 types will be something like numerical and maybe data label or something like that. Okay, so even though you have the audio, video, and all kind of stuff, unless you are a specialist working in that area, in which case this class is not going to be enough anyway. Chances are you'll be working with tabular data, okay, data that comes in the form of big data table. So think of it as working with Excel, except without the limitation of Excel. Okay, so now I did ask all of you to have a good thought, I guess, good thinking session with yourself about what kind of project you wanted to do, what kind of project you wanted to use as your term project. And with exception of one person, I think one person wanted to use the Thai text, right? What's the name of that guy again? Raise your hand. Who's the one who wants to use the Thai text? Raise your hand again. Let's see. Go to the next page. Sorry. Okay, who are you? Raise your hand. Which one that wanted to do the Thai text processing?
สุกเกษมครับ
Oh, I see it. Okay, right. So that one is going to have a very close coaching from your TA, because you will need to use Python and the Thai language models. Okay, but the rest of you are pretty much handling everything at the same kind of framework. Okay, fine. Now today, okay, let me share the screen. Let me share the screen. Okay, share. Okay, let me go to this. So where's your, oops, where is that? Class syllabus. So we should be about here, midway. Ta-da. Okay. So we should be about here. Okay. Now, we did cover a little bit about the concept of machine learning in general, but we kind of like a little bit behind time. So in terms of time wise, by the way, this didn't have the exam, so this should move downward a little bit. Okay, right. So we're going to talk about really get into supervised learning. Okay, get into supervised learning. Now, before we get into supervised learning, I want to actually spend about maybe an hour, okay, on the most useful construct you would use in your project, whether or not you are going to do unsupervised learning or supervised learning, but especially for supervised learning. Okay, so first thing that I want to do, so this is a little bit of programming thing. Okay, I want to introduce the useful thing that you would be using for your project. Okay, oops, sorry, don't need that. We need this, however. Okay, so okay. So the first thing I want to do today is talk about this thing called module. Okay. Now, module is nothing more than a way of encapsulating a workspace. So if I say something like, you know, I want to say A is equal to 5, B is equal to 7, right? And then A plus B. That's simple, right? The problem with this is that this is all global. Okay, it's like, in fact, even if I open a new workspace, okay, and I ask what A is, it gives 5. So it's very universal. It's not even just for the instance of the program. Every instance, okay. So now A and B is known as 5 and 7 universally. Okay, so to be safe, I don't want to use it and then get confused. I would have to clear, okay, A and B. Okay, now it's okay. Now it turns back to blue. So when I when I put in the value again, A, it doesn't know. Okay, now a nice way to do this is to create yourself a little space. Okay, your little space is called the module. Yeah, module. Open bracket. Open. Okay, and within that module, there are two things. There's two space. Two parts. The first part is the local variable that you want to create. For example, AB. Okay, AB. So now you can notice, it has a different color, right? When it's global and known, it's black. When it is unknown, it's blue. When it is local, it is green. Okay. What I make this thing local. Okay. So this is the first part. The first module is to say, what are the things I'm going to be working with? Okay, and I want to work with it here and nowhere else. And then I can do whatever I want. A is equal to 5, B is equal to 7, and A plus B. Okay, so this is not that interesting. Okay, so that gives you 12. The point is that the instance of this is local. So you're not going to bother anybody else. Okay, you're not going to bother anybody else. So nowhere else is it known what the value of A is. So it's local. Now, if it's something simple like this, like assignment, you can actually do this in here. Okay, but if you want to do something fancier, then you need to do it in the body. So this is the main body. So this is sort of like the way I see it. This is called declaration. It declares what are the things you're going to be using locally for your function, and not to be generalized or not to be shared with anybody else. Okay, so that's that. This is declaration and this is the body. But if the body doesn't do anything much, I can just do something like this, So that's sort of like initialization to 5 to 7. Okay, obviously is I want to B is equal to log A, then I need to do something else here, okay? So that's the module. Now, the second thing that will be useful, again, you have seen before, and this is going to be useful for your project. And in fact, I would imagine that every project will require this manipulate. Okay, manipulate, you've seen it before, right? So manipulate, okay, and the body plot sine of x, okay, x from 0 to pi, okay, something like that, right? Now, what you want to do is manipulate, let's say, frequency, okay, frequency n of x. So that's the manipulate part is here, is the control n from say 1 to 10 in step of 2. Okay, so now you can manipulate. Move n, 3, 5, 7, 9. Now it doesn't go to 10 because it goes into step of, oh, that actually, let's go again, sorry. Okay, so it goes from 1 to 10 instead of -2. So a little bit funny here, see? You start from 1, you plus 2 is 3, 5, 7, 9, and then you go all the way to the end, it's 10. When you go back, it's -2. That just happened to be because I specified like this, okay? If you don't do this, then it becomes continuous. Then you can have continuous number. So obviously this is more powerful, but if your function is more complicated, this might hangs a little bit, okay? So this is from 1 to 10 inclusive, from 1 to 10 instead of 2, okay? So you know that. Now, the way I tend to use together, and I think this is the way that you would start, again, you have to start thinking about your project. Okay, you do some kind of development thing. Okay, you get some kind of model. My model, okay, A, B equal to, and then this is your model. Okay, you develop all this. Okay, and whatever. But what you can do is once you have done all this, and you know what you want to do, you put it inside here. Inside manipulate. Now, manipulate is like your showcase, right? This is the user interactivity. So you put it all the way at the outside. But here you have something that's inside, which is your module. So this is my local variable. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, and then I put it here. So notice there is a module. This is a declaration. This is your local variable, and local variable equal to 7, so whatever, okay? And then you do this, local variable plus this, right? So this is your local, this is your main body, this is your main body as well, so action, and then this is the manipulate. So now it's going to have everything that start, from some 7. Obviously, that's not very interesting, but okay. So this is basically the structure. So we talked about functional programming. Okay, you tell the computer to do things by calling this function. So that's why you would have this kind of function. Yeah, that's what it means to do functional programming. But the structure that will be useful, the two things I want you to use, and I find very useful, is this thing. Module to keep things local. So now I don't know what local varies, and it doesn't affect anything else. And this is important because as your application gets a little bit bigger, you don't want to have, some legacy value of A floating all over the place. So you have this module. Okay, so you do that to localize the effect of this. So declaration, the main body. And then you wrap it inside manipulate so that you can do something in here, such as manipulate the frequency. Okay, so this is for the user interface. This is for keeping the variable local. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to basically these two things will probably be in everyone's project, final project. Okay, but not necessarily not the Thai language guy. They would use something similar to this within Python. Okay, not Python โมดูลเขาเรียกว่าอะไร localize what is it called
ก็เป็นโมดูลนะ
โมดูลเหมือนกันนะ okay yeah it's a common word okay ครับ now so what else I want to talk about right now thing is remember I told you that when we want to do something we create a function right like my model is like this right okay my model A B equal to A square plus B or something like that. Okay, so that's how you create a model, create a function. Now, what I want to talk about for the next 5 minutes is a very simplified version, which I call pure function. I did hint that this is something that will be useful later, and so I did not. I just sort of like mention it, and I didn't go into detail, but today I will. Okay, today I will. So let's say I want to add two functions a plus b. Okay, I want to add two functions a plus b. Get a plus b, right? So that's an instruction. That I mean, this is an instruction. Okay, this is an instruction. You already done functional programming. You tell the computer to do something, and that function is called a plus b. In other words, you're doing this, a and b. Plus, sorry, not oops, plus. Okay, see that? So this is what you want to do mathematically. This is the computer instruction. The instruction comes in the form of function. This function takes two arguments, a and b. This function is called plus, but because it looks stupid to write it this way, the shorthand for this function is the same thing as the numerical notation, the mathematical notation. So this thing is the same thing as true. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay, so this is already functional programming. Okay, so this is the most basic of all. Okay, the most step one. Let's call it step one. Okay. So function a plus b is okay. Is means calling a two variable function plus okay supply two argument. Yeah, by the way, I don't know if you used this term before, but in mathematics sometimes you don't say variable, you say you apply function argument a and b, okay, and then get result. Okay? But because plus a b looks clumsy, okay? The shorthand is a, okay, same as math. So this is a bit silly, isn't it? You want to do mathematics, you call a function, but because the function here, it's a bit clumsy to call, right? It's rather silly to see this. So the shorthand for that function is this. So this becomes a shorthand. Okay, so that's the simple babyest. Okay, the most baby. Okay, function 1. Okay, function 2, same thing, but allow for any. Okay, so this is sort of like use once, use only for A and B. Okay, use once and use for A and B. Now, same thing, you're going to use once. Use once, but for any unspecified A and B. Okay, so it's like use once, right? So let's go at this case. How would you do that? This is what you would do. You would say, I want to take this guy, number 1, plus this guy, number 2, and make this a pure function. Okay, so this is a function. I do it once, right? So let's make it something more interesting. Instead of this, say something like 1 plus. Why am I not clicking? 1 plus 2 to the power 5. Okay. Now this becomes a function. I can use it for anybody. So it becomes a function. So in this case, if I'm going to use it for A and B, okay, I get that. But I can also use it for C and D. Now, wait a minute. I want to use it once and I want to use it twice. I want to use it for C and D. But I have to write the whole thing again, right? So that's a little bit silly, right? So what I do is, well, how about this? Let's call this. Let's name it. F is equal to this. I don't know why I have to, okay. Okay. Right? I do this first. My F is equal to this. Okay. And then next time I can say F, A, B. Okay. F, C, and D. Okay. So I define it. So I don't want to use it once, right? I don't want to use it once. Use more than once. i.e. for any specified A and B. Okay. So that's what this function looks like. Now, if this function is this simple, okay, this is how I would define the function, right? But if there's a lot of steps, okay, if there's a lot of steps, okay, if there's a lot of steps, it does not make sense to do this. It makes more sense for me to do this. F, and then, so sorry, name the function. Name the function, okay? Name the function. So that would be something like this. My F, my function is equal to number 1, yeah, number 2, whatever. Name the function, okay? Function 3. More complicated. So name, function, and variable, okay? Now, previously, all I did was to say, you know, the first one, the second one, right? But the function is so complicated. I'm gonna write it in a way that makes more sense. F, my A variable, B variable, okay, is equal to, okay, A plus B to the power of 5, okay? Oh, sorry, I forgot. I have to, so second one. So that's the first one. I use the same name, sorry. So this is my, oops. A, B. Okay. So now this becomes, you have the name of the function to the name of the variable. Now, why would you want to do that? Because in real life, you may have many steps. A is equal to A squared, and then B is equal to A1 plus A, okay? And then you do this, right? Okay, so now it goes through all these steps, and as you're writing, you know exactly the transformation that you're making. You're making the square, you do this, you do that, and then this has all the name, so it has meaning. Okay, so this could be something like the first parameter or something like that. So you would do something like this. So my function A, B. Okay, so you do this. Okay, so instead of blah blah blah, and then you just do this. Okay, it's more complicated. Okay. So all three things are equally valid. You would do this. Okay. Now, sometimes when you want to do something simple, but you want to apply to a list of things, you would apply this function, and that's why you see something like, for example, okay, square, okay, is a pure function. Apply to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is applying this function to 1, then to 2, then to 3, then to 4, then to 5. Okay, now where else would you see something like this? Well, let's say I have something that's 1, 2, 1, 6, okay, and I want to sort. I want to sort this list. I want to sort this list using this. See that? The function sort.
Would you mind scroll up a little bit?
Okay,ครับ
อีกหน่อยได้ไหมคะ
Oh, I kind of erased them all. Sorry.
ไม่เป็นไรค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
Okay. So again, once again, if you want to do something simple, okay, you can do something like okay, and then you apply to 5 and 7. Okay.
I think you didn't share your screen. You stop sharing when.
Oh, I stopped sharing.
Yes.
Okay, let me share again. I think I did share. Hold on.
Oh, maybe.
Okay, can you see?
Okay.
Okay, Cap.
Okay.
Sorry. So you see? Did you see all this? Did you see the typing? All this? Maybe not.
Yes, Cap. We can see.
Okay, Cap. Okay, Cap. So once again, okay. Again, this is not that complicated. I just want you to see different level. So the first level is, okay. First level is you do this. Okay, let's make it 3 and 4 and 7. Okay. I want to say the first level, the simplest level is 4 plus 7 to the power 5. Okay, I haven't named anything, right? And I can only use it once. Okay, I haven't named anything, I can use it once. Okay, now if I want to be more general, okay, I can say, instead of this, I say the first one and the second one, okay, is a pure function and apply to 4 and 7. Okay, so it's the exact same thing. So let me do this. Okay, once I write it down, I'm gonna put over here. See if it's true. Yes, it's true. Okay, so one more complication. My f this. Okay? And then my f 4 and 7. See, same thing. Okay. Now, to make it nicer, I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna say A and B. Okay. My F2. Okay, my F2. Okay. So let's say my F1. Okay. Let me write. My F1 is equal to this. Okay. Is it the same? Yes, true. Oh. To be safe, sometimes I have to put a bracket around it to be on the safe side. 4 and 7. Oh, so this return true. Okay, sorry. This is all going to be true. Okay, it's going to be true. This is going to be true. Okay, actually, I don't need that. Okay, it's true. It's all true, right? And then this is the first level of computation. Now, second level of computation is I name my F1 and I name my variable within it. A plus B to the power, what's my to the power? Okay, then see if this is the same. Oops, sorry. True. See, so that's you should see it's the same thing. So this using it once, using it only with 4 and 7. This is using it, okay, in a general form, okay, a general form, okay, and I name the function, but now I name the function and the variable, okay, and of course I can do this as well. My F3, okay. Okay. Now watch this. I'm gonna use module. Okay, module. Part 1, part 2. Okay. Don't ask me why I want to do this, but it's so complicated, so many complicated. So let's say part 1 is equal to A, part 2 is equal to B, part 2 is equal to B to part 2. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna, better yet, I'm sorry. Let's call it, okay, that part 2 and my exponent is equal to 5. Okay, so now I'm gonna say my part 2 is equal to part 2. So this is so it's very complicated calculation. I'm having problem with my mouse. I don't know why. Okay. And then part 1 plus part 2. Okay. So that's it. That's my module. Okay. Now I'm gonna call this module, right? M my F3. Is it the same thing? True, right? So the reason I am spending a little bit of time here today is because when you go to your project, many things will be complicated. That's F3. Many things will be semi-complicated. That's F2. Many things will be very simple, like F1. Okay, so these are all same thing. These are all same thing. So this gives the same result. Okay, so in fact, I can just do this. I don't know why my mouse. Okay. That's nicer. See for yourself that it's exactly the same thing. They all give you the same value. Okay, so that's what I want to cover. Okay, in particular, this is useful for applying to a list. Okay, now in particular, the one that has only one argument. Okay, you can say something like table. Okay, table, right? So let's say I have my argument. My argument is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is my argument, right? Okay, I can do this. I can do this. Table. Okay, table. Where this QRT. Let's say let's do square root. Table square root. My argument I to the length of my argument. Right? I can do that. Or let's say this is so instead of having square root, it could be some complicated function. Okay, that the reason I use it, say it's a complicated function that you wrote yourself, you can do that. Or if it's something simple, you just say I have this. This is my pure function, right? And now I'm going to apply to my argument. Okay. So those are the things that the reason why I want to show you that this This pure function is very useful, very handy, okay? Now, so enough about this. Second thing, okay, so these two things we talked already. Basic useful functional programming construct, module manipulate pure function. This one, instead of using table, you use apply, okay? Finally, the third thing, okay? The third thing, so this is sort of like, the third thing is data structure that you'll be using. Now, this is what's called association. Association, okay? If you have a table like this, say, cat, let's say cat is 40 centimeter long, I guess. Okay.
Sorry. How did you type the triangular?
Oh, less than. Yeah. So this is okay. This is our dog. Let's say dog. Okay. Dog is about 55 centimeter. Greater than. Okay. This is sort of like a structure. Okay. Now I'm going to make this thing into what's called an association. Okay. So I'm going to write my association of animal to length equal to association. This is a built-in function and it's applied with this list. So it is a funny list. Okay, it looks like a list, but instead of having normal list normally start here and here, right? Instead of having this list, the only twerk is you say the left bracket looks like that, and the right bracket looks like that. Okay, and the element has the left and the right. The left is called the key value. Key 1, value 1, key 2.
Professor, would you mind scrolling up a little bit?
Okay, that up.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Okay. Okay.
เรียบร้อยค่ะ
Okay, got it. Let me put this together. Okay. So after all is said and done, this here demonstrate this here. Here. And this here demonstrate this here. Okay, and now we're going to association and data set. Okay. So I'm going to create this association, right? Association looks like a list, but it's a funny open and close. And each element has a left pointing to a right. And this will be very useful, especially with supervised learning. I'll show you why, okay? Now, so let's say I have this association, cats and dogs, okay? Now, what happened is I look up my association animal to length, okay, and I put in cap. I get 40. Okay, so it's gonna look up the key and give you the value. That's the main thing. Association, okay? Association, once constructed, gives value corresponding to keys. Okay? So if I want to see what it looks like, I say, what is my keys of my association? animal to length. Yeah. Cats and dogs, right? And what are the value? Okay, simple, right? Simple, right? This is very simple. It's very simple. Okay, now let's think. Let's think about how does this fit in with the way you work with tabular data. Let's go to Excel. Let's open some Excel. Okay, I have something like, well, let's put in some number here. 40 and 50. Okay, 40 and 50. When you want to get the number 40, what do you say? What's my axis? It's A1, right? Right? Yeah, A1. Okay, column, row. Now, if I were to store this, okay, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now, if I were to store this and I want to access, I would say A, everything, right? This is column A, everything. This is row 1, everything. Now, if this were to be stored as a list, okay, how would you do this in Mathematica? Well, it's going to look like this, right? My data is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Right? It's my data. Okay. Now, what if I don't want this? I don't want this. I want this to be cats and dogs. Okay. Okay. And let cats and dog. Should I make it cats and dog? Let's make it length and weight. And this is my animal. Okay. My animal is cat and dog. Right? So my length is 40 and my weight. So cat weighs about 10 pounds, 12 pounds, and dog's about 15 pounds. Okay, and yeah, let's do this. That makes more sense. Okay. So if I were to do this, okay, I would have to store this as a first row, store this as a first column. Okay, which is doable. I can do that. It's not a problem. I can do something like, well, actually, you know what? Better yet, let's make it height of 3 animals. So you don't just so this could be a dog, okay? It could be a dog, but maybe 3 different dogs, okay? Yeah, that's more interesting. So a lot of times you see this. Okay, so this is the first dog, second dog, third dog. Now, can I represent this as my dog length and weight? Yes, I can. I can do this. My data, my dog data is equal to length, weight. And I have 40, 12, I have 50, 15, yeah, and I have 44 and 12. Okay, now if I put this in a table form, right? So this is my first dog, this is my second dog, this is my third dog, right? So this looks like an Excel. Does it look like an Excel? Yes, it does. Okay. But if I have a lot of attributes, I have to remember, right? If I want the weight, how do I access the weight? How do I access the weight? I have to say my dog data all 2, right? In fact, it's not all, it's from second column. Right? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if I have something like, you know, if I have length, weight, height, and all that, you know, 10,000 attributes, 50 attributes, I have to know which column it is. It would be nice if I don't have to keep track of that. I have to say my dog data weight. That's what I want to do. Okay, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just repeats my command. Listen, but I want to do this. So how would you think about doing that? Well, you can think of the weight as the key. The word weight as a key. So what if I do this? Okay, what if I do this? Instead, I make this bracket. Okay. And watch this. Length points to length information, 40, 50, and 44. Okay, let's do that. Okay, and I make this thing. By the way, this association in Python is called dictionary. Okay, it should be 14, right? So a little bit faster. Okay. Yeah. And I turn this into association. Okay, that's association. Now, let's name this association something. Yeah. My dog data as association. Okay. So now my dog data as association length. Yeah, right? So that's nicer, right? Okay, so think of it as progression. So list, list of list. Okay. Okay. Association has the shape of T1 point to value 1. And that value could be vector, could be anything. T2, right? So now you don't have to, you can just name this, right? It's easier. Now, finally, this thing is not that powerful yet because it's just a list, right? In other words, it's the same thing as Excel. I want to go to column B. Instead of going to column B, I want to go to column weight, right? So think of it this way: a list of lists is the same thing as Excel. Because if you want this column, you have to refer it by column B. You want this row, you have to refer to it by column 5. If you name it, you can do that. You can do that in Excel, by the way. You can name column B my weight column, and then you can go to the weight column. It's the same thing as association, right? Just name the column. But, okay, to do something beyond that, and this is where I think some of you might be taking database programming course, or with Excel, you want to do pivot, select, group by, and so forth. You have to create some kind of structure on it. And that structure is called data set. So now I'm going to say, I don't want this. I want this. My data set, my dog data set is equal to data set of this thing. Okay, notice, first of all, it gives you already a nice format. Okay, and now I can say my dog, okay, data set. I want all, but I want length. Oops. Sorry. Okay. It gives all the length I get, right? Automatically. So now you don't have to remember the column name. Okay. But it's actually more useful than that. It's actually more useful than that because you can do kind of operation. Now for that, I'm not going to make funny data set because it's going to take forever, right? As you can see, I'm very clumsy with making data set. So what I'm going to do is this thing. Okay. I'm going to do this, and this might take a while. Okay. This is a URL for COVID data. Okay. In fact, let me give this to you. Okay. Actually, I'll give you the whole thing. Where's the line group? Where's the line group? Big. Yeah. Okay. Can you guys see that? In the line entry. Okay. What I did was this is Ovid. Ovid. What's Ovid? Ovid is this guy. Let me show you. It's our world in data. Okay, it's our world in data, and it has all kind of data set. It has all kind of data set. Okay, it's very big. And what I did was I go to their COVID database. And that's the address. So I download this. Okay, I download this. Okay. Now, obviously, this is a huge database. Right? It has 64 columns. It has 121,000 rows. Okay. Now, obviously, you have to see what the heading is. So let's say COVID 1. Okay. So these are all the 65 items. This is all the 65 items. Okay. This is, by the way, pay very close attention because this is a lot more realistic than dog cat that I drew up. In your project, you won't be typing in your dog cat data. You'll be downloading. So this is exactly how you would do your project. Okay. So when you get your data set, you have to see what it's all about, right? So you will see that this is all the data. This is all the number. Vaccination rate, death per million, case per million, lots of them. But notice, by the way, that the first 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, are what I call reference or key. Okay. In other words, this is the data that you're interested in. This is the data that you're interested in up to here. Before that, it has 4 things. I'll show you what it is. Okay, so let's look at the first four: Ovid, COVID. Okay, 1, 2, and 4. Well, let's go to 6. Okay, and let's make it table form. Okay. What it does is it gives you something you're interested in, which is column 5, 6, all the way to 65, right? The 5th column, the 6th column, all the way to 65 is information. The first column is what's called country code, okay? It's a code for country, okay? Second is continent. It tells you the location. The third one is Afghanistan. The fourth one is day. So this is actually a key, okay? So depending on how you want to play with the data, when I did the cats and dog, it's very simple, right? You just have cat or dog. But in this case, there are different keys that you can play with. You can access by country, by continent, or by date. So the real life data will have this kind of thing. So maybe not just 4. Some data sets may have just 1 or 2 key columns, but some may just have 10, okay? It depends. So this is basically the identifier. This is the identifier. The rest is the information. It's the number that you're going to play with. In this case, it's saying that Afghanistan on this date, okay, has 5 case, new case. Well, obviously, because this is the first date, right? So if I go to something like, instead of the first date, I go to, why do I have this funny thing with my mouse today? Okay, so instead of the first to second, I get to the 10, 200. Okay, then it is Afghanistan on the later date, so it has 38,000, right? Okay, so you can do that. Okay, anyway, so what I want to do is I want to create this into a data set. Okay, now the command for it, and I'll let you copy because it looks a little bit it looks a bit hard, but it's not. It's not. Let me explain. Okay, just now when I have the row and column, right? I just have the head, which is the word length, and point to the value, right? And width, point to the value. Now, what I want is to take the first one, and that's the top line. So this one is the top line. You can notice this is a top line. Ovid COVID-1 is a top line. Point to I. So this is I to J. That's a bit hard to, let me draw a picture. Okay. So now I have this thing that looks like this. I have this thing, okay? I want to take the top and I point to this. Okay? So what is this? This is I, this is J. I'll make it bigger. So this is my I, this is my J. So what is this? What's this guy? What's this guy? Okay, this is table, right? Table, Ovid, COVID. Okay. Column I to J, right? I, J. Now, obviously, I going from where? Does it go from the top? No, it goes from the second, right? So obviously, this is, okay, right? This I going from second row to the number of row. Okay, number of row. Okay, so this is it. But do I want just this one? Do I want this one? No, actually, I want I to point to here and J to point down, right? So I want to do this for all the J's. Okay, so, okay. So I want this to be a pointer of the first row to this. And I want to do it for all of them. So I take the first one. See that? First one, right? But I don't want to do just for this guy. So I put, hold on. Can you guys see this? Basically, I'm creating an association, okay? I'm making the association. Now, if I did this, what have I done? I create an association from the first row, the jth column, to the rest. So this is what I created. It's this guy. But I don't want to do it for just this guy. I want to do it for other j as well. So I have to iterate over j as well. And that's why there is an inner iteration. Table, left, bracket, okay, and j to number of column. Okay. So now I have this table going down, right? So I turn this into a data set. And that's exactly what I just did. Okay. So let's see what it looks like. Okay. Let's see what it looks like. Now this is a 100,000 row. So it might take a while. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So this is my data set, right? So this again is a lot more, obviously this is the reason why I have to use this data set as an example. I can't be typing this thing as an example. So you can see that this here is going to have all the heading, right? So all this heading here, you can see ISO code and all that, right? It's down here. ISO code, continent, location, date, okay? And it has all the way, it goes, okay? So this is huge. Now, the dimension is still the same. So notice what this data set is going to give you. It's going to give you a country from A to Z, okay? In fact, it actually doesn't give you just country, it gives you continent as well, okay? So it gives you Afghanistan from the first day that it has COVID to present day or yesterday. I think the last day is always yesterday. And then B, Bermuda, all the way to Thailand to Zimbabwe, right? So this is huge. This is huge. Now, this is not only the reason I want to use the data set is because I can do something else. And this is where the beauty comes in, right? Let's say I don't care. Okay, this is everybody. This is everybody. This is everybody. Okay, this is everybody, right? I don't care. I don't care. I just want Thailand. Okay, so let's use something like this. Okay, this one I made it more interesting, so it looks complicated, but it's not. Okay, now let's look at it piece by piece. I have this condition. I have this condition. Okay. Or, can you guys see that? Or, and this is the name of the header, location. Remember that? This is location. Okay, location. Location equal, again, 2 bracket, Thailand or world. Okay. And so I have this or, then I end this with what? So I end it with this condition that say the 9th of September. So on the 9th of September, on the day of 9th of September, the location Thailand or the world, I select that and I turn this into a pure function and I take this data set. See? So this with data set, so if you think about it, okay, so if you think about it, this is like spreadsheet. Okay, and this is like spreadsheet with name column. Okay, name column. Data set, okay, constructed from association allows you to do database query. So it's like spreadsheet plus mini SQL. This is a database for it. Okay, so this is why in your project, yes, you will need module to keep things local. You need manipulate because you need to show interactivity with the user. You need pure function because it's very convenient. You need table and apply because you need to do a lot of iteration. But certainly, if you're going to work with lists, you're a little bit handicapped. You could do all this. Okay. In fact, their way of getting around working with lists, but it's much easier, nicer to do this because then you can do this, right? You can do something like this. In fact, now I make this. I make a list, okay, of things I want. Okay, makes things I want. So let's say I want. Okay. Let's say I want to study this thing. Okay, I want to study this. I want to study this. Okay, I want to study this, and okay, and let's say I want. Let's keep the key. Let's keep the key. So what's the key again? Okay. So my key. What's the key? COVID 14. Sorry. Okay, let's keep that. Let's keep that. And let's keep, what else you want to study? Let's say I want to study new case. And yes, okay. So this is the list. Okay. Let's say I want this is all I care. Interesting column. Okay. I want to do this. This is all I care about. Yeah, this is all I care about. Maybe I don't need that country code. Let's get rid of country code. Okay. Something like that. Okay. Now, let's say I want time series of all this. Okay. But I don't want to be time series of all location. I want that to group by location. So I'm going to do this. Interesting column. Watch this. What does this do? I'm creating a new data set. So this is an old data set, right? You see that? This is an old data set. I'm creating a new data set from an old data set. But how do I do it? I'm going to group by location. Okay. And I'm not taking everything. I'm taking just the interesting column. Let's see what I get. See? Now it gives Afghanistan, Africa, all this by country now. So now it's like not only do you have a name column, you have a name groups of data set as well, right? And I'm going to have all the, so this is still going to have from the first day to the last day, there are about 580 days total in this data set. So all the interesting column. So, okay, so only this new case, I only care about new case. Okay, for example. So now, okay, so now if I want to list plot, okay, list line plot, okay, and list line plot. Okay, let's see what just this first. Let's see. Let's say I'm gonna take this guy and I go to Thailand. Right. So now I want total new case, right? Oh. So I want to take all total case. So that's going to have, first of all, because you know you got 640 days, so we got this. Now, if I want to plot, sometimes it's easier to just look at, go back to the raw form. So I put normal in front. So this is just going to list all the total case. So you can see that initially we have nothing, and then we have 3,000 for a long time, and then we start to blow up into 30,000 and so forth. Okay. So now you don't have to go to remember the row and the column, just go by country reference. So that's very easy. Now, what's nicer? Let me show you what's nicer. Okay, what's nicer is, let's say I have a list of continent. Let's say, okay, let's have a list of continent. So this is my continent list, and okay. Give me a minute. I'm kind of using an old example that I used elsewhere. So let me just make it small because it otherwise look too big. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's say this is the stat I want to play with. Now, I create this ahead of time, so don't worry, okay? So these are the statistics. These are the statistics. Okay, this happens to be the statistic. This came from a subset of the 65. I just created this before that, okay? So let's, I'm gonna be interested in continent. So let's prepend this list. Prepend this list. I don't know what's happening to my mouse. Okay. Prepend this list with comma continent. Okay, so I just prepend this, basically just put continent in front. Okay. Now, what do I want to do? I want a new data set. Okay, I want a new data set. So Oh, wait a minute. Let me go to, okay. Okay, let me. My apology, sorry. Let me show you this first. Okay, so this is all the stats I want, and it has not just the continent, but the whole key. So it has a 4 key plus a few. Okay, I don't want to play with all 65. So this is the list I want to play with. Now, what I want to do, okay, is I want to get the latest stats and group by the location, just like right last time we did group by location. So let's do this. Group by data set COVID. Okay. Okay. So I want to let me write this in separate line. I want the data set, but I don't want all mixed together. So I want it to group by location. C. Okay. And which column, which row. Okay. Which row? Well, I want to use this row. I want to use this row. So I put here. Okay, so I put that row. So that's my row. But which column? Sorry, my bad. Which row first and column? So data set COVID. Okay, group by. Okay. Group by location. Okay, and here I want to list of rows and list of column. Okay, that's what I want. That's what I want. Okay, so which list of column do I want? I want this one. Okay, which row? I can have all row. So this, okay, will be all row. But instead of saying I want to have all row, I want to apply the operator called last. Okay, last. This is a function. Last apply to A, B, C, give you C. Okay, so this is an operator called last. So how do I, when I do this, what happened? What do you think happens? It groups the data by location. It takes the last row, and last row again is the most recent, right? It's the yesterday, and for this set. So I'm gonna call this data set. Let's call this data set data set COVID latest stat. Okay. Okay. So now you would see that it groups by country. It groups by country. It has the key and the data I'm interested in. Not all 65, just those I'm interested in. Okay, so just these guys. Okay, and which line is going to take the last line? So the date is what? Yesterday, 4th of October. Okay. So that's going to give you a latest stat to play with. Now, if I were to do this, and I want to be, I'm more interested in setting the list for continent, I can do this. Yeah, let me show you. Now this is what I did earlier, but it's the same concept. I take from this. Now I group by continent, and I don't want to take the last. I want to take the continent mean, and this is the list. Okay, see what do I get from that? Okay, oops. Well, Actually, there's a step I skipped. I should have done this before. Hold on. I have to replace the empty row with I have to get rid of all the zeros first, sorry. Yeah, I should have done this before, sorry. Oops. Let me start again. Yeah, this is basically to replace some of the zero and run this again. Okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, and now I do this again. This is the last step I did. Okay, now it's nicer because it replaced the empty cell with zero. There's actually a planet, which is the whole world. So let me get rid of that. So how do I do that? Well, I just erase. Okay, notice it has planet, so I don't want that. So I put, okay. I select the same, but continent is not equal to planet. Okay. So once you do this, you see, all I did was like before, except instead of using last, what do I use? I use this. I use mean. Okay. So basically, I take the mean, right? So I take the mean. So now I'm doing all the query. Okay. So that's it. That's it. So this is the reason why I want you to spend quite a bit of time on the data set, because this is what you will be using quite a lot. Okay. Okay. So it's like this. You can select, you can do group by, okay. You can apply operation like last, mean, or whatever. Okay. Okay. You can, etc. And then you can select only data meeting criteria. ET. Okay. And let me copy one of the line that I use. So I want to, yeah, let's try this. Okay. EG. Okay. Take my data set. Okay. My data select what? Select everybody except those that continent correspond to planet. Or so say, let's say you don't like okay, you want to select just Thailand, you can do that. That makes more sense. Thailand. Location equal. Okay. Okay. So this is very important. Select to aggregate. Okay. So this is very important. Now, it's gonna take a lot of getting used to. So I'm going to give you some link to some very good YouTube tutorial. Okay. This guy, okay? This is working with data set. Now, for one of you who's going to be working with Python, in Python, Mathematica dataset is equivalent to Python pandas. Okay, pandas. Okay, so I give you both tutorial. This is tutorial on dataset. This is tutorial on pandas. Pandas is, you know. So if you go to YouTube and you search pandas, okay, actually, real pandas only come in third. at least for my okay. So pandas analytics, it's the same thing. It's called. Let me write it one more time. I shouldn't say this. I should say that Mathematica's data set is equivalent to Python's. Is equivalent to data frame in Python's Panda library. And that's more precise. Data frame D ใหญ่หรือ D เล็กนะ
It's a capital D.
Okay. Capital D. ใช่ไหม
ใช่ครับ
Okay. So in pandas, in Python, you have to something like import pandas as PD, something like that. Okay, and then you pd.df. Okay, so it's a lot, a few more steps, but completely doable. Okay, so those are the tutorial on that. These are very basic tools. Okay, now. Once you have this basic and useful tools here, okay, you're done. You're kind of like ready to say mingle with real world data. Okay, so now with the above, with all of above, you are ready to manipulate, to deal with. Okay. Now, of course, this is not a programming class. So, what do you want to do with data once you deal with that, right? So, what you want to do with data? What you want to do is 3 steps. 1. Access, load, raw data, like we did. Okay, like we did. Okay, access, load, raw data. So I'll give you an example. There's an example that I cooked up for you guys as well. I think that's also interesting. Let me see, where is that? My data is equal import. Yeah. And then .csv or something like that. Yeah, something like that. So, yeah. 2, okay. 2 is to, well, first you have to sort of like understand. I'm gonna say assuming you understand data format. And do all the necessary cleaning, i.e. replace NA with 0 or whatever, okay? Now, sometimes it does make sense, sometimes it doesn't make sense. If it's not available and you want it to be not available, in other words, it doesn't enter into the calculation, then you just replace it maybe with something like this, okay? With null. But if not available, like in the data case of the COVID data case, not available or empty cell means that there's no case. You 0, you replace with 0 or whatever, okay? Three, prepare your data in the format of your analytical tool. Supervised machine learning, etc. Okay. What you want to do with the data part of now, I would put something here as well. Do basic visualization, statistical characterization, mean standard deviation histogram. This is what I mean by visualization being at the beginning of everything and at the end. Okay, so this is the data part. Okay, now then you are ready for your model part. Okay, then you're ready for your model part. Now let's take a video break to stop the video, and then we'll restart the video and we'll come back to the model part and we jump into the supervised learning. But I mean, you guys have any questions? Okay, so these are basically the so far I've given you all the basic ideas. I've shown you a little bit, manipulate more, maybe not module, but manipulate some of this. You've seen lists of lists and so forth. But today is the first time I actually stack them up in terms of complexity that you would need. Like if the project gets big, you have to manage variable locally and make sure it doesn't get applied elsewhere, and you use module and so forth. So all kinds of things are important, not as a concept, but as a practical matter. So today is part 1 is like part 1, practical matter for your project. Then I can put this in here. And do all this. Okay. Okay. So that's the practical part, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, you ready for the real world data? Then, part 2 of this class, supervise. Okay, so let me save this, and pause the video and start the video, the second video.